ॐ ॐ तव कथामृतं तप्तजीवनं कविभिरीडितं कल्मषापहं श्रवणमङ्गलं श्रीमदाततं भुवि वदन्ति भूरिराजना. Your words are like nectar, bringing life to scorched souls. They are praised by poets and remove all sin. They are auspicious to hear, wonderful and exalted. Those who spread these words throughout the world are truly giving souls. Welcome to our class on the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. We are meeting after 2-week gap. Yeah, I had to travel a little bit, so we'll try to catch up somewhat. We are on chapter 30. This is the chapter entitled The Master in Various Moods, and it begins on Thursday, October 2nd, 1884. And we got as far as page 583. And Sri Ramakrishna was meeting with some Marwari devotees from Bordo Bazar. These were devotees that used to come quite often. They were well-to-do people. They would very often bring offerings and gifts and food and everything. And Sri Ramakrishna praised them very much. He used to say they were real Hindus, but at the same time, because they were the business community and dealt with profit and money and things like that, he had some hesitation to accept the gifts. And when the food would come, he would save it for Narendra, mostly. Yeah, but he praised them. He also praised them. They were very devoted to Sri Ramakrishna. So I think we're right at the middle, the devotee. Why don't we feel dispassion toward worldly objects? Now, these are people that they make a lot of money, so they enjoy things. Yeah. So this is not like a sadhu asking this question. This is a this is a well-to-do community, but as I say, they're serious spiritual seekers. So why don't we feel dispassion toward worldly objects, Master? Because of Maya. Through Maya, one feels the real to be the unreal and the unreal to be the real. The real means that which is eternal, the supreme Brahman, and the unreal means that which is non-eternal, that is to say, the world. Okay, so there are many, many things to look at in this one small, simple reply. Why don't we feel dispassion toward worldly objects? Now, Maya, of course, is a huge subject that it means so many different things. We'll find with all of these technical terms that there's some metaphysical meaning to all of these, the technical terms, and they help explain some very knotty philosophical problems. And then there's a very, I would say, personal type of meaning, a very practical type of meaning, which is, to me, is far more important. So let me give a few examples. Maya. Maya can be some inscrutable power that belongs to Brahman, or it can simply be the tendency of each and every one of us to get attached to things. Because one of the meanings of Maya is attachment. We have Maya for somebody. It can be attachment, it can be the sense of ego. But one thing that we'll notice is this distinction between what we accept to be fact and what we understand to be truth. So the truth of the matter will be that we have some understanding that Brahman alone is real. And at the same time, the fact of the matter is that we don't know anything about the Brahman. So we'll say that Ultimate truth may be that this world has no substance to it, and yet we take it to be so real. So it's this gap between what we understand and what we feel, and what we believe to be true ultimately. So there's so many ways of understanding this Maya. Now, the other thing that always interests me is the terminology that because uh, we have so many different ways in Vedanta of distinguishing between the real and the unreal, the permanent and the transitory, substantial and insubstantial. All of these different terms are there. In this particular section, Sri Ramakrishna is using this terminology, sat and asat. Sat and asat. It is very basic. It is very general. There's not too much of secondary meaning that goes along with it, but he'll explain later what it really means. That Sat means that which is eternal, the Supreme Brahman, and the unreal, Asat, that which is non-eternal, that is to say, the world. So we find that the Sat and Asat, or Satya and Mithya, that Sri Ramakrishna, his tendency is to look at it in terms of eternal and transitory. This is his tendency. Uh, the term real and unreal, these are highly emotive terms, and again deeply technical terms, especially this question of the unreality of the world. Now, my personal feeling is that we don't have to delve into all different philosophical doctrines and things. There's another term, mithya. Now, the mithya, the mithya also has two completely different meanings. One is something that is just really unreal, we can say, and the other is the sense that something is uh, false in a way that means that it's just in vain, that it's of no ultimate use or value, that it's flashy but there's no substance, it glitters but it's not gold, that type of idea. Not necessarily that this external world is just an imaginary superimposition. We if we don't like that type of thinking, then we can get tremendous value out of this other way of looking at things. I mentioned this many times because it's helpful to me. I find this other idea, what is the status of this external universe, to be too speculative. And I understand the value of it, but again, I look at the value of it in a completely different way. What is the value in saying that this world is unreal like a dream? It breaks attachment. Not that it's putting us on very high philosophical ground, and we've come to some conclusion that can't possibly be defeated. But if it leads to some type of feeling of detachment, if it leads to this search within, then it's a positive thing. It's a good thing. Again, it's just we can look at it from the point of view of spiritual attitude. If, on the other hand, this feeling of this world is unreal makes us indifferent to the suffering of others, then we have to ask: is it helpful or not helpful? And the reverse is true. If we accept this world as something tangible and real, do we get too attached to it? Do we find the mind going outward too much? So these are some of the important considerations. Vastu avastu. I've spoken about this before also. That we can say with the person that a person is a man of substance, or a person is a woman of great inner determination and everything. And then there'll be other people that are shallow. That's all. It's not saying they're non-existent. Yeah, or apadartha. Yeah, this idea. So I think it's helpful for us to not be philosophers all of the time, to be practical people. I was thinking about this during meditation, that this idea of Maya Is it a cosmic function? Does it belong to Brahman? Is it something separate? What is the status of it? Uh, these are questions that everyone will have their own way of understanding. Yeah, but if we at least understand that we're not seeing things correctly, this is one of the statements that I appreciate very much when Sri Ramakrishna asked M. There's one conversation, and they're going through some of this the philosophical stuff, and he says, "Do you understand?" And M says, "One thing that I've understood is that I'm not seeing things rightly." A very nice statement. So we can understand Maya means that somehow, because of the mind going outward, because of attachment, because of desire, because of lack of clarity or insight, that we're not able to apprehend this ultimate reality, which is some transcendent. And the cause and effect is also very curious. Because of this Maya, we form attachment. And because of attachment, we form false ideas about things. So there's always this back and forth with these different concepts. So let me look at this. Why don't we feel dispassion towards worldly objects? Now, again, dispassion and indifference. See, for Sri Ramakrishna, Swamiji especially, he wanted to see engagement in the world. Swamiji wanted us, he didn't want us, or Sri Ramakrishna, to withdraw. This nivritti is wonderful at the time of meditation, that we go within, we forget the whole world exists. But we open our eyes, we should see the divine everywhere. Sri Ramakrishna's idea. And Swamiji's idea is that, uh, if my suffering is real, your suffering is real. Now, it may not be ultimately real. This is a different story, but as real as it is to me, it is to you. And this idea of the transitory nature of the world. Now, another interesting term, say jagat and samsara. Okay. Now we're talking about the status of the world. If instead of jagat, instead of we think of this uh, so-called visible universe, physical, whatever it is, if we think samsara means the world that we create. Again, not from a metaphysical point of view, but through our attachments, through our love, through our associations, through our connection, through our false identification, or through our identification with our religion, with our ethnicity, with our race, all of these different things. We have our little circle. That circle becomes our world. So this samsara has they all have two meanings. All of these terms, they all have two meanings. That one will be some philosophical meaning, the round of birth and death, or this the external universe. But the other will be we create a universe from an emotional, psychological point of view, not necessarily from a metaphysical point of view. That to me, that is a question of uh, what appeals to us, if it appeals to us at all, to try to figure out this knotty question of this external universe. We only know this universe as we experience it, and every moment as we experience it. And if we experience everything in time, this flow of time, then we see this dreamlike nature of the world. It's a going by. But if we take this idea of dream literally, then it can really affect the way we interact with people. If we think that whatever we do in a dream has no ramification whatsoever when the dream is over, we can do whatever we like. It's just a dream. We've seen this is what Swamiji called undigested Vedanta. This is what Thakur says. I spit on that type of Vedanta. But we can understand. There was a film that was made some years ago called Groundhog Day. Did anybody see this Groundhog Day? It's very interesting. It's about a news crew with a weatherman in the news that they go to Puxatawney, Pennsylvania, and groundhog comes out once a year. It's called the Groundhog Day, If he sees his shadow, there'll be 6 more weeks of winter. If he doesn't see it, then the winter will be coming to an end. So they have a big deal every year. They take this a groundhog out, and if it's a sunny day, then one thing. If it's not, so anyhow, this one weatherman, uh, he's bored to death. It's the worst possible thing to have to go and go through this whole thing, but somehow he makes through it. And there's a big storm, and they have to stay that night. He wakes up the next day, and it's Groundhog Day again. And it happens over and over and over again. Each day he wakes up, that it's the same day. That means that everything he did the day before is nullified. And he starts to understand this. And then he realizes, oh, I can rob a bank. I can do whatever I want. I'll wake up tomorrow in bed, and it was just a dream. It's all gone. It's very interesting, this movie. So if we look at the ramifications of these ideas, just a dream, if we take that too literally and say that, then what does it matter how I behave in the world? We had that sadhu who said, the whole world is mithya, so only my speech have to be satya. And Thakur got so angry when he heard that. Yeah. So anyhow, this is just something that occurred to me because for me it's helpful. Otherwise, this idea of Maya, that so-called reality, whether it's real or unreal, which makes the impossible possible, these are such hazy concepts. This is why Sri Ramakrishna, he likes to make it more tangible and think in terms of power, Shakti, in terms of Shakti. But this Maya, as it affects us, this is very, very tangible. This we feel this at every moment. Why is it that we're living with as if we're covered in darkness, that we don't know anything? Why is it we feel that we're so easily attached? Why is it that people say something and we get so upset? Why is it we lose something that we feel so bad? We all know these things, that is all through some type of attachment and through some type of very unripe kind of ego. So that way, all of these concepts, Maya, the very tangible, the very important thing, this anitya, yeah, this world seems to be just passing by. It's just to be floating by. And what do we take from that? That we shouldn't waste a second. This is very valuable, this lifetime. The next thing we know, it'll be our deathbed. We'll wonder, oh, what did I do with my life? So all of these things have tremendous value from one point of view. From another point of view, they represent our own personal worldview, how we like to look upon this world. So this is why Sri Ramakrishna, he never said that this swapnavat, this world is like a dream. He never said that this is a false doctrine. He used to say, I don't care to look at the world that way. I don't like to say, but he never said that there's no validity to that point of view. And he never said that it's not helpful for some people. He would say for the jnani. And we see that the farmer who's the jnani, who had the dream, all of his sons died in the dream and everything. In any event, from the waking state, that it was able to keep him from being overcome with grief. So from that point of view, whether we like the doctrine or not, from that point of view, there's some benefit to it. So this is all, and I really have a firm conviction that for Sri Ramakrishna, these metaphysical concepts and things were secondary, that he was very pragmatic in his teachings about detachment, and also about transcending this very dark ego sense that we have. All of these very practical questions.
When Swamiji Thakur accepted the Leela,
Yeah, Leela. Yeah. Now we look at everything as a divine play. This is also another attitude. Yeah, this is another attitude which appealed to him. He also doesn't say that everybody has to look upon the world this way. Yeah, this fits in very nicely with looking upon Ishvara in terms of the Divine Mother, and to see if we see everything as a play, then it doesn't sting as much. It's not exactly saying it's unreal. That there are ramifications and everything, but say Swamiji gives one example: two puppies playing with each other. Sometimes they'll even bite each other, and they'll squeal, but it's all in play, something like that. Anyhow, these will appeal to some people and not to other people. We see all the tragedy in this world, the wars and everything. Oh, it's a mother playing. That won't appeal to everybody. We may say, okay, this is very dark Mother Kali idea, the terrible. We may say it's all due to this pride and arrogance and selfishness of human beings, that we're responsible for all of this. Why bring in God? Swamiji would take that in. So that there are all different attitudes that we can take. The Leela idea is very nice and fits in beautifully with the idea of the Divine Mother, but it's very tough when people are dying right and left. So what appeals to us? I don't take any of these things as some scientific final explanation. So let me read this again. Devotee, why don't we feel dispassion toward worldly objects? So this is the question. The question is not, what is the real nature of reality? What is the nature of Brahman? All of this. It's this question of dispassion. And it goes back to attachment. Because of Maya. Maya means attachment also. Because of Maya. Through Maya, one feels the real to be the unreal. That means ultimately that which is beyond the senses, that which we can't see, feel, touch, or anything. We claim that that's the real, but we don't have an experience of it. What we claim is unreal. This is the one thing that we know, this universe. So because of Maya, through Maya, one feels the real to be the unreal and the unreal to be the real. The real means that which is eternal. Now, when we say Brahman is eternal, it really means beyond time and space. We don't have the same chicken and egg question there, because all time and everything exists within this Brahman. It's beyond that realm of time and space. So that which is eternal, the supreme, the real means that which is eternal, the supreme Brahman, and the unreal means that which is non-eternal, that is to say, the world. So again, when we say the world, this physical universe, that's going to come and go. But our own world, that comes and goes when we come and go. We leave all of that behind. So from that point of view also, that all of our attachments, that sooner or later, we'll have to, either we leave them behind or they drop off from us, or loved one, parents, grandparents, and everything. We'll have to watch them disappear one day if we outlive them. This is our samsara. This is our world. Devotee, we read the scriptures. Why is it that we can't assimilate them? Now, this again will go back to Sri Ramakrishna's attitude, that we don't read the scriptures in order to become pundits. And we don't read the scriptures also to get that final answer to all of these questions. We read the scriptures to get a little guidance and a little inspiration. So he says, what will one accomplish by mere reading? One needs spiritual practice, austerity. So we get some encouragement, we get some enthusiasm, we get some guidelines, we get some conviction by studying the scriptures and by analyzing them and everything. And then that becomes the jumping off point. Now, can we study the scriptures afterwards? Yeah, well, of course. but not exclusively. That's just to kind of renew our inspiration, clarify our thinking a little bit. But we have to start with some spiritual practice. So one needs spiritual practice, austerity. Call on God. What is the use of merely repeating the word siddhi? One must eat a little of it. Siddhi is a type of intoxicant, especially Shivaratri. People will take, or Shiva will take. The hand bleeds when it touches a thorny plant. Suppose you bring such a plant and repeat, sitting near it, there, the plant is burning. Will that burn the plant? This world is like the thorny plant. Light the fire of knowledge, and with it set the plant ablaze. Only then will it be burnt up. Now, what world are we trying to burn up? This world of ignorance, this world of Maya, this world of attachment, not literally the world. One must labor a little while at the stage of sadhana. Now, Sri Ramakrishna will very, very often say that one must really work hard. There's labor a little, he's being very lenient here. But generally, he'll say, yeah, one has to work really hard. When he gives the example, of the boatman, we only remember you raise the sails and the wind goes. But he says that he has to row all the way out, and sometimes there's wind, and sometimes turbulent, and all sorts of things until he can get out to the middle. Then he can raise the sail. So this is a little bit lenient for us, that one must labor a little while at the stage of sadhana. Then the path becomes easy. Steer the boat around the curves of the river, and then let it go with a favorable wind. Now, there's a very curious thing here, that Sri Ramakrishna is taking two different illustrations and mixing them together. Yeah. Generally, this going around the curve he uses for this Vaidhi Bhakti and Anuraga, and raising the sail. Did we get that here? And the favorable wind, that's with the raising the sail. That's with the grace, that idea of grace. Anyhow, they both work very well here. So, yeah, why do we have to work so hard at the very beginning? Because we have to get established in spiritual practice. And once we're established in spiritual practice, then our sadhana will go smoothly. It won't be that we don't have good days and bad days, but it'll become part and parcel of our character and our life. It'll become part of that samsara. So it's very important in the beginning, and that's when we hear from all of these great souls that when we're young is the time to really do intense spiritual practice, and then we set ourselves on the right path, and we won't be able to keep it up through a whole lifetime. Usually, the very rare souls, it'll increase and increase and increase until God realization. The rest of us, it becomes a marathon. It's not a 100-yard dash. It becomes a marathon, and we have to stretch things out a little bit. We have to pace ourselves a little bit. Otherwise, we'll get exhausted and quit. So, but in the beginning, one should do that. Then the path becomes easy. Steer the boat around the curves of the river, and then let it go with the favorable wind. Yeah, this anukul. What does he say there? Vayu or anukul vayu, anukul hawa. He uses these two terms. There's anukul. One of the most beautiful words to me. Somehow when I hear this anukul hawa, I just think this breeze will come. It's a very sweet breeze. I had one experience once that I was going to Jainambati, and it was so horribly hot just unbearably hot. And I got there, and first thing I did was I took a cold bath, just pouring cold water, and then went to lie down. Somehow the temperature, maybe it was the beginning of monsoon season, I don't know what it was. Somehow the temperature just dropped, and this breeze came, and there are windows on both sides, so it comes right through the room, and it was just yeah, it just brought life back. Yeah. And just this anukul hawa, I just always remember how that felt. That we don't have to do anything at that point. Then this is a very high state. This anukul hawa. That this is when the boatman doesn't have to do anything but just lean back and relax. Maybe smoke his hookah. Just relax.
What is the corresponding English for favorable?
Favorable breeze or wind. Favorable, anukul. Yeah, yeah. This, but this idea is very sweet and gentle, but strong enough that it'll carry us the rest of the way. That we won't have to do all of this self effort at that point. This is that distinction between self effort and grace. When the anukul hawa, when that comes, we feel that we're floating along the grace. The grace of God is taking us the rest of the way. Cool. And at that point, the Vaidhi Bhakti gives way to, we don't have to uh, uh, worry about uh, exact time and place and number of jump and all of those things. The mind is just automatically, freely thinking of God, but with sweetness. The Anukul Hawa, that sometimes the breeze is just sweet, that we can smell from the trees that it comes and just cool and yeah, that cooling effect of it. Yeah, and that's the image that comes to my mind with Anukul Hawa. As long as you live inside the house of Maya, as long as there exists the cloud of Maya, you do not see the effect of the sun of knowledge. Yeah, we always ask this question that Maya is such a huge thing that it can cover this ultimate reality. And then I'll give the example: just a little cloud can come across and come across in front of the sun, and we don't have any sunlight at that time. Yeah, just a small thing, and it can be eliminated very quickly. And also, we analyze this cloud. We find that there's no substance to it. It's just wispy little goblets of moisture, somehow giving the appearance of something real. There's a good definition of Maya. It's something like a cloud. So as long as you live inside the house of Maya, as long as there exists the cloud of Maya, you do not see the effect of the sun of knowledge. Come outside the house of Maya, giving up lust and gold, and then the sun of knowledge will destroy ignorance. Now, again, uh, if Maya is ignorance, then the cure for ignorance should be knowledge. But it's not what he's saying exactly here. The cure for this Maya is learning to be detached. See, and that will, of course, allow knowledge to dawn on its own. But it's this attachment and this false identification. So, and then the sun of knowledge will destroy ignorance. Okay, let's see. Yeah, so coming outside the house of Maya, giving up lust and gold, then the sun of knowledge will destroy ignorance. So what is preventing us from knowledge is not just this lack of understanding or intelligence. It's this terrible ego sense and false identification and attachment. This is the real nasty side of Maya, not just some abstract philosophical concept. It's very pressing. We feel this Maya on us. A lens cannot burn paper inside the house. If you stand outside, then the rays of the sun fall on the lens and the paper burns. Again, the lens cannot burn the paper if there is a cloud. The paper burns when the cloud disappears. So part of this is that we have to uh, keep ourselves far away from those things which increase our attachment. So for Sri Ramakrishna, when he says mental renunciation, we shouldn't think that it means that we can do anything and mix with people and do anything that we want and just not be attached. He said we're not strong enough for that. That's at the very beginning stage. We have to be very cautious about this. We have to build a nice fence around the little tree. He said when it becomes a big tree, then it's different. You can even tie an elephant to it. Nothing will happen to it. But we start to see this little sequence of things that we have our ignorance, and it comes from lack of knowledge, it comes from attachment, and it comes from putting ourselves in an environment where we can be attached. So the different steps that go along with this. The darkness of the mind is destroyed only when a man stands a little apart from, here it says woman in gold. So normally we don't read that. We change it to lust and gold or lust and greed. But what Sri Ramakrishna is saying is the environment makes a difference. If the problem is alcohol problem, then you stay away from the tavern. Yeah. If the problem is anger, you stay away from people who constantly get you. If it's envy, you stay away from people who are always bragging about their money and everything. Yeah, there's very simple things, but we don't do it. We don't put it into practice enough. So the darkness of the mind is destroyed only when a person stands a little apart from woman in gold or man in gold, and thus standing apart, practices a little austerity and spiritual discipline. So we do our spiritual practice. At the same time, we remove ourselves from circumstances where the mind will be affected. Our minds, until we become strong in spiritual life, the mind is so easily affected by things. When we say the mind, Thakur says the mind is like white cloth, the freshly returned from the laundry, that whatever color you dip it in, it'll take that color. It works both ways. We dye the mind in the thought of God, it'll become godly. We dye the mind in the world, it'll become worldly. Works both ways. Then only does the cloud of its ego and ignorance vanish. So look at this. The cloud of Maya now is the cloud of ego. So Thakur will identify this ego itself as Maya. Sometimes he'll say time itself is Maya. Attachment is Maya. Then only does he attain the knowledge of God. This lust and gold is the only cloud that hides the sun of knowledge. So again, it's attachment. It's attachment, because knowledge will dawn on its own if we can get rid of this attachment. If we can feel that we can identify with that divinity within, as soon as we see something that appeals to us, well, automatically we're identified with this superficial self, this apparent self, this lower self, and with this ego sense and everything, immediately. To the Marwari devotee, the rules for a sannyasi are extremely hard. He cannot have the slightest contact, again, with woman in gold. That means that gold, of course, means anything that can tempt one. In turn, one is to anything that can tempt one for enjoyment, and the other one for possessiveness. Yeah. So, kama, lobha. These Thakur was very specific about these. What about krodha and all these other things? Yes, of course. But these are the two that he specifically gives that emphasis to. Kama, lobha. To this lust and greed. Now, the rules for the sannyasi are extremely hard. What about us? We don't follow these rules. We compromise. Yeah, because Sri Ramakrishna, he's talking about very high ideal of a sadhu and one type of sadhu, and a traditional type of sadhu. This is not really uh, an ideal which we're qualified to live up to. And Swamiji understood that, and this is why he gave us the type of uh, social service work or whatever we call it to do, because he knew that those who would come in the future would not be that type of sadhu that can live under a tree and can just withdraw from society. And uh, these are all ideals that have to be, I don't want to say compromised, but we have to live up to them to a certain extent as far as possible. Yeah. So it's not that we don't have any rules about these things. That especially in India, any of our monks, that you won't find them if they go into a tram or the bus and there's a woman sitting there, they won't sit next to her, of course. So there'll be many things like that. But for the work of the order to go on, it's impossible for us, of course, to do these things. And Sri Ramakrishna said, yes, see God dwelling in all beings, see Divine Mother in every woman, see, and to take this attitude. But these rules for sannyasi are extremely hard. These are traditional rules for the very traditional sadhu who won't look at the face of a woman. The closest thing that we have now as a real movement, we can say, is Swami Narayan, the monks there. Yeah, women can't come in their presence so that they'll never see the face of a woman. Now, for the women, it's unfair. This is that same argument that women should be veiled because men will be tempted. It's a very selfish idea. Yeah, you could say the same thing, that men should be veiled. Yeah, but the point is that you don't want to see the face of a woman, then you go someplace else. Don't make women cover themselves. Yeah. Anyhow, this is different traditions. So the rules for sannyasi are extremely hard. He cannot have the slightest contact with women in gold. He must not accept money with his own hands. Now, we are constantly dealing with money, we're accepting money, but it's not our private money. It's not something that we're going to hoard and we'll just use for ourselves and everything. Yeah. So there'll be some of our monks day and night. They're in the finance department. They have to deal with money. Yeah. So it takes great dispassion and everything. But this, for many people, at least my understanding, is that this kama and lobha, that the greed for money in most of our sannyasis is almost zero. I don't find that to be a big problem. And this kama, that'll be a challenge for everybody. I don't see them as being of the same on the same level exactly. But Thakur put great emphasis on this idea he used to say that the money is a terrible ubhadhi. Yeah, he would use that type of language that it can tempt people, and it'll happen from time to time with monks. Yeah, we see some who become have, and not just with money, with the organization and with power and everything. Yeah, that they have a whole kingdom. So some of the popular sadhus. So he must not accept money with his own hand. He must not even allow it to be left near him. Now remember, he's saying this to the Marwaris because they're constantly trying to give him money. He's trying to impress them. Please don't do that. This is not good for me. You may think that you're showing your love and devotion for me, but don't do it. Lakshmi Narayan Marwari, a Vedantist, used to come here very often. One day he saw a dirty sheet on my bed and said, I shall invest 10,000 rupees in your name. The interest will enable you to pay your expenses. The moment he uttered these words, I fell unconscious, as if struck by a stick. Now, what chance was there that Sri Ramakrishna's mind would really be disturbed or that he would be tempted by money? Tempted by money, it's not the slightest chance in the world. Mind disturbed only because he's enacting this play to show the this ideal of the sannyas, and otherwise, yeah, it's nothing to him. But still, he used to have that reaction with regard to money, even to touch it and everything. So the moment he uttered these words, I fell unconscious, as if struck by a stick. Regaining consciousness, I said to him, if you utter such words again, you would better not come here. It is impossible for me to touch money. It is also impossible for me to keep it near me. He was a very clever fellow, he said. Then you too have the idea of acceptance and rejection. Yeah. Heya and heya. Is that what it says? Do you have it there? Anyhow, this is one of those things that raga dvesha, that we want things and we don't want things. Huh?
Yeah.
What does it say?
Ladju or grudge.
Oh, okay.
So, again,
Yeah, so this is the problem. That something we don't like, we can't bear it. Yeah. And something that we like, we want it. This is called raga dvesha. Raga dvesha, that we have attachment to things we like, and we have some very negative attitude towards things we don't like. Don't get it near me. I don't want to even look at it. Yeah, this is one of the signs of a realized soul or a highly evolved soul, free from raga dvesha. Yeah, it's something that doesn't really appeal to me. It'll have no effect on me. I don't care. It's here or not here. It doesn't matter. Something that I like, say with food, I like it good, then I'll eat it. You don't give it to me, good. I don't care. You give me something I don't like, it's food. What? How much do I have to like it? Yeah. So we see this. Some of our sadhu Swami Swananji, how he would mix all of the food together and just eat it at once. What do I care? Food is medicine, he used to say. Yeah. So he was a very clever fellow. He said, then you too have the idea of acceptance and rejection. In that case, you haven't attained perfect knowledge. My dear sir, I said, I haven't yet gone that far. All laugh. Lakshmi Narayan then wanted to leave the money with Hriday. Yes, Hriday was his attendant, of course. I said to him, that will not do. If you leave it with Hriday, then I shall instruct him to spend it as I wish. If he does not comply, I shall be angry. The very contact of money is bad. No, you can't leave it with Hriday. Won't an object kept near a mirror be reflected in it? So this is all to show that this mental renunciation isn't strictly mental, that it involves removing ourselves from contact with objects of temptation, whatever they may be, as far as possible. As far as possible. Of course, and living in society today, it's not very likely that we can do it, but as far as possible. Devotee, revered sir, is a man liberated only when he dies on the bank of the Ganges? Now, the question usually isn't only then, but does everybody who dies on the bank of the Ganges get liberated? Or does everybody who dies in Benares get liberated? But here it's put in a slightly different way. And do we have to die in the banks of the Ganges to be liberated? What about all the great saints from other parts of India, other parts of the world? Yeah. So, Master, it is the knowledge of God alone that gives liberation. Now, he's going to make exceptions. There's dying in Benares and Ganges and everything, but in general, that this is what we should think about, not where this physical body will be when the time of death, but where the mind will be, what type of thoughts will come into the mind at that time. Now, maybe those who have great devotion and faith in this dying on the banks of the Ganga, if they go there at the very end, then mind will be filled with that idea and desires will go. Same thing with Benares. This is quite possible. The jnani will certainly attain liberation wherever he may die, whether in the charnel pit or in the bank of the Ganges. But the bank of the Ganges is prescribed for a bound soul. Now, Sri Ramakrishna takes the other point of view also, that bathing in the Ganges removes all sin, and one becomes perfectly pure. And humorously, he would say, but what happens to the sins? They wait on the limbs of the trees. As soon as you come out again, they jump back on your shoulder. Yeah. So anyhow, emphasis really should be on what will the state of our mind be at the final moment. What will the state of our mind be at the final moment? Now, we may say, if there can be no desire whatsoever in the mind at the final moment, that how is it possible for any of us? We may think like that. But when death is facing us, we become different people. Yeah, I've seen this. Yeah. I think the best example I know is our Swami Brahmarupanandaji, that he had many worries and questions and like everybody else. But as soon as he found out he's dying, then everything disappeared. Not a single desire, not a single thing arose in his mind other than when will mother come? I want to see mother. That was the only thing that was left. So as we get close to the end, what a whole lifetime of sadhana, what really is that longing of the heart, that'll come to the surface. Other things will just go to the side. Otherwise, who can say that they're free from desire completely? But when that final moment comes, then some real transformation can take place. Rapid, yeah. And then grace. And grace also. Yeah, we may not have the faith that if we die in a certain place, we may have that faith that Mother promised us, Thakur promised us that they'll come. It's a question of faith, really. That faith can make the whole difference at the end also. Devotee. Revered sir, why does a man dying in Benares become liberated? Master, now, this was all the result of a very ecstatic experience that Sri Ramakrishna had when he was on the boat. They were going by the Manikarnika Ghat, where they burned the bodies. And when he had this vision of Shiva on one side and Mother on the other side, and unlocking the chains and whispering the mantra and everything. So this was a direct experience that Sri Ramakrishna had. It's based on that. Even though the scriptures say, but the scriptures don't give any type of detail, as far as I know, exactly like this. And this one Taraka mantra that he heard, and yeah, it was a very detailed type of experience that he had. So, Master, a person dying in Benares sees the vision of Shiva. Shiva says to him, "This is my aspect with form, my embodiment in Maya. I assume this form for the sake of the devotees. Now look, I am merging in the indivisible Satchidananda." Uttering these words, Shiva withdraws his form and enables the dying person to see Brahman. The Puranas say that even a Chandala, an outcast or low caste person, endowed with love of God, achieves liberation. Now, the Puranas will say this. He mentioned that specifically because these are the scriptures for everybody. There's no exclusiveness in the Puranas or, of course, in the Itihasa, Mahabharata, and Ramayana Gita. According to this school, the name of God is enough to liberate a soul. Simply repeating the name of God at the final moment. There's such faith in this tradition in the name of God, that'll give liberation. There is no need of such things as worship, sacrifice, the discipline of tantra, and the recitation of mantras. There are so many songs that are with this exact idea that what is the need for these things at the final moment. Most of these are Ram Prasad songs, or this one. We'll get to the one. Is it here? There's one author named Madan. I don't know who he was exactly, but that same idea. And what need is there, Goya, Ganga, Paravashadi, what need is there to go to any place of pilgrimage? If we pass away with the name of Mother on our lips, then that will assure us of that liberation. But the teachings of the Vedas are different. Now, this is not Vedanta, this is not the teachings of the Upanishads. This will be the orthodox beliefs that are found in either the Brahmanas or according to the authors of the Dharma Shastra. And some of them, this was the idea of adhikara. According to the Vedas, none but a Brahmin can be liberated. Yeah, because only they can study the scripture, Shruti, only they can hear this Tattvamasi from the Guru, and male also. Yeah. Otherwise, you have to be reborn. Yeah. Yeah. And they have to take this sacred thread and get Gayatri and go through a very orthodox tradition. This is what Thakur's talking about. According to the Vedas, none but a Brahmin can be liberated. Further, the worship is not accepted by the gods unless the mantras are recited correctly. This is all very strict interpretation by the Purva Mimamsakas. That the idea of yajna was quite different from the idea of puja. Yajna, this Vedic sacrifice, it had nothing to do with the devotion of this sacrificer. It had nothing to do with the grace of the gods. It had nothing to do with even the gods being pleased or anything like that. All it had to do with the yajamana, the priest, reciting the mantras correctly with perfect pronunciation and following all of the rites and rituals exactly. And then the gods had no choice but to accept the offering. This was an early Vedic period. This was the idea. One must perform sacrifice, worship, and so on according to scriptural injunction. But where's the time in the Kali Yuga to perform the Vedic rituals? Therefore, in the Kali Yuga, the path of devotion prescribed by Narada is the best. The path of karma is very difficult. Now, this is again a question of terminology. When Thakur talks about karma yoga, he's not talking about the karma yoga from Gita. He's not talking about Swamiji's worship of God and man. He's talking about this practice of ritual, karma, kriya, this karma kanda. He's talking about that. Other times he'll talk about karma yoga, do everything as an offering, of course. But here specifically, he's talking about this path of ritual. When we get to the chapter on advice to Ishan, this is what he's telling him. In this present age, don't do all these Vedic rituals and things. Do something to bring some devotion to the heart. The path of karma is very difficult. Karma becomes a cause of bondage unless it is performed in a spirit of detachment. So all of these Vedic rituals, they were all with some desire, kamya karma. They with some desire in mind. Otherwise, why do it? They were to get a good crop, to get rainfall, to go to heaven. Yeah, it wasn't to gain devotion or anything. Further, the life of man nowadays depends on food. This is one of Thakur's favorite expressions. He has no time to observe the rituals enjoined by the scriptures. The patient dies if he tries to cure his fever by taking the decoction of herbs prescribed by the orthodox native physicians. Therefore, he should take a modern fever mixture. And this is simply a way of saying that it's not that some of these old methods of spiritual practice aren't useful, but they take a long time and a gradual progress. Whereas with a devotion, if that love grows in the heart, it can burn up all these impurities of the heart very quickly. According to Narada, the devotee should sing the name and glories of God. The path of karma is not the right one for the Kali Yuga. Bhakti Yoga is the right path. Now, when we talk about karma yoga, it's really Bhakti Yoga for most people, that you do everything as an offering. do everything without any attachment. It can also be jnana yoga, do everything with the feeling that it's body and mind are performing, I'm the witness of everything, I'm not involved, and do everything without attachment and everything. So it's either a kind of a branch of karma, of jnana yoga or bhakti yoga. The karma yoga that he's talking about here is a different thing. So bhakti yoga is the right path. Do your duties in the world as long as you need them to reap the fruit of the actions of your past lives. But you must develop love for God and be passionately attached to Him. The singing of the name and glories of God destroys the effect of past action. Now remember also, he's talking to these Marwaris. They have no time. They're busy and constantly engaged with trade and business and everything. They have no time to do long spiritual practices and things. So a little singing of the name of God will be helpful for them. You don't have to perform duties all your life. As you develop unalloyed love and longing for God, your duties become fewer and fewer. Thakur talks about this as something that automatically happens. We don't have to calculate. Oh, I'll give up this 1 year, next year that, and everything. That somehow some divine law or grace of mother, whatever it is, that these duties will become less and less as we progress more. After the realization of God, they completely drop away. Then we don't have to do anything, but we can. This is, of course, the example of Sri Krishna in the Gita. Nothing to gain by doing anything, nothing to lose by not doing anything. Still, I remain active. Yeah. When the young daughter-in-law is pregnant, her mother-in-law lessens her duties. After the birth of the child, she doesn't have to do any household work. Let's stop here because now several young men from the village of Dakshineshwar are going to come to Sri Ramakrishna and ask a series of questions here. So we'll stop here. We're now on the middle of page 585. Om Niranjanam Nityamanantarupam Bhaktanukambhathudavikraham Yeshavataram Parameshamidhyam Tam Ramakrishnam Shirasanamama. We bow our heads before Sri Ramakrishna, who is stainless, of infinite nature, whose heart melts in sympathy for his devotees, who is an embodiment of the divine and the Supreme Lord, and ever worthy of our worship. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. Okay, thank you, everyone. And I think most of you know we have our Durga Puja on Sunday. Today is a very auspicious day. We're just finishing Mahashtami and entering into the last day, and then we'll have our Vijaya Dashami after that. So, okay. Industry.
Did you see that Maharaj in Benur? How Gautamananda
Ah,
was doing the